Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk. Back in the video today, the Houston Texans with the 205th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft select wide receiver Xavier Hutchinson from Iowa State. Love this pick here for the Texans. Second wide receiver the Texans draft in this 2023 draft. Drafted Nathaniel Dell in the third round, and now in the sixth round, you draft Xavier Hutchinson. This is a guy that a lot of Texans fans wanted to see. Both, not only did they want to see the Texans draft Xavier Hutchinson, but they also want to see the Texans draft Nathaniel Dell. And I saw a couple with both guys, wanting both guys to get drafted. Then I saw, some mock drafts from Texans fans with only one of Nathaniel Dell or Xavier Hutchinson. It was a little bit of mix of one of the other, or some with both. And this is a guy who I love. I love his game. He's a guy, a real nice deep threat, has a lot of speed. He can take over whenever you need him to. He did that in Iowa State. He was amazing. I first, heard of him in that Texas game, which I think was week 7 if not week 7, week 8 of college football season. I think it was week 7 of college football season. I could be wrong. Week 7 or week 8 in college football season last year against my Texas Longhorns. He was just dominant in that game. I can't really remember who won the game. I think Texas did win that game, but Iowa State, they never backed down. They were down big in that game. I think at least double digits multiple times, and Xavier Hutchinson had a huge game, big catch after big catch. Watching some of his highlights today, that they played some replays from that Texas game, and his highlights. He's a great, he's a great speedy guy. He's great speed. That's one thing. Huge deep threat, and I love how he'll just with his speed and his and how much how he can go so how he's a deep threat. He can just go by the defensive back like crazy, like boom, like it's how fast he is. It is mind blowing, and I just watching that's how I saw it when I watched it. But his speed, his ability to go deep, his ability, and I don't know if we'll bring that over to the Texans because he might be the 5th or 4th wide receiver on the roster, 5th or 6th wide receiver on the roster, just due to how much depth there is on the Texans roster with wide receiver. But in Iowa State, when they needed him to show up and do big things for them, he took over for them, and he's a really good wide receiver. And if this guy plays for the Texans, I think he can be really good. But like I said with Nathaniel Dell, and I'll say it with Xavier Hutchinson, you really don't know when these guys can make their statement in the NFL, because look at the 4 guys that the Texans have above them in the depth chart. John Mechie, Nico Collins, which with these guys being drafted today, does Nico Collins start to get a little worried? Because my first 2 years, I've been solid, but I've had some injury problems. I haven't played that great. Could Nico Collins potentially be cut if Xavier Hutchinson and if Xavier I'm just saying, if Xavier Hutchinson and Nathaniel Dell do a really amazing job in training camp and preseason, if they ball out in preseason, and Nico Collins, he's still doesn't. He's never looked bad. He's been solid. He's never been okay. He's been solid. But I'm just throwing it out there. If they do really good in preseason and training camp, and Collins doesn't, and they do better than Collins, and Collins is still a solid wide receiver, and they want to have maybe only 5 receivers on the roster, I'm not saying they're going to cut one of their rookies, but there is a chance either Collins loses playing time or Collins gets cut. I'm just throwing out that possibility. Never know, because I'm looking at the 4 wide receivers that are above these 2 new rookies over the depth chart. John Mechie, Nico Collins, Robert Woods, Noah Brown. I don't think anybody of those 4 wide receivers would be cut besides Collins. And I don't think Collins is going to get cut. But the only guy out of those 4 guys of the wide receivers, that if those 2 other rookies start to just go crazy, that they could cut to make some room for them to get more playing time. The only wide receiver I could see being cut is Nico Collins. And if you disagree, you disagree. But I think Robert Woods is going to have a big impact, and C.J. Stroud's going to have some veteran wide receivers, and Robert Woods is really the only veteran guy for C.J. Stroud if you think about this. I mean, John Mechie's second year, first playing year though. Nico Collins going in his third year. Noah Brown, I think he was drafted 2019. So he's been he's considered to most of these other wide receivers. He's pretty much a veteran. To Mechie going in his first playing year, Collins going in his third year, and then Hutchinson and Dell going in their first years. He's like a veteran on this roster, but he's pretty young too. And then Hutchinson and Dell are rookies. So the only veteran on this roster, wide receiver position, is Robert Woods. He's not going anywhere. Noah Brown, he has a big impact. He's not going anywhere. John Mechie, they want to see what he has. He's not going anywhere. He's also he's a really good wide receiver too. He's going to be one of the best wide receivers on the Texans this year. So those three guys are not going anywhere. And so then you got to look at the four guys above Xavier Hutchinson and Nathaniel Dell. I think the only guy that could potentially get cut is Nico Collins. And I don't think it's going to have to come to that, but if they really go off in spring, I keep saying spring training. If they really go off in training camp and in preseason, I think it is a potential danger for Nico Collins to maybe get cut or just lose playing time at all. That's just being on the bench. But I love this pick. It was a steal in the 6th round. He was viewed as a guy who could be a guy to go in the 4th round or latest 5th round. And the Texans got him at the 6th round at 205. He was expected to I had the Texans drafting him at like 185 or something. I didn't think he would be there at 205, and I think that was a great pick there. It was surprised. A lot of people were surprised he fell to 205, and he did. And the Texans traded up from I think 209 to 205 just to get him. That's how special it was to them to lock him in, and it was a great move by the Texans there to land Xavier Hutchinson, have 6 wide receivers in the wide receiver room. I love it for the Texans. That's it for the video. If you guys enjoy them, your thoughts, and peace out. Go Texans.